Logan Murdock here for another edition of Real Ones. Me and Raja Bell talk all things free agency. We get into the very fluid situation that's going on in Milwaukee. Carmelo Anthony said there's no loyalty in sports. And there's definitely no loyalty for Dame Lillard in Milwaukee because they waived and stretched his contract to make a deal to get Myles Turner. We get into all of the ramifications of that. LeBron's legacy in Los Angeles. We talk about what's going to happen with Kuminga. Then we get into a great mailbag discussion with the Ball Cliff where we answer your questions about discourse in the modern NBA and who is going to be remembered as a great player in 2040. Is it Kyrie going to be thought of as the greatest player of all time? Is LaMelo going to be thought of as the greatest player of all time? Maybe. We'll see. We discussed all of that. But for the moment, let's get to the intro music. Cliff, play the theme. What's poppin'? Real Ones, Logan Murdock here, Raja Bell there. The free agency edition of Real Ones is upon us. I got the sniffles. Raja's apparently 100% healthy, but we're going to do it anyway. Are you good, Raja, before we get to the deals?
I mean, parenthood is like playing an NBA season. Like, the last time you're 100% healthy is the day before they're bored. So, like, I'm not 100% healthy, but I'm as close as I'm getting.
Oh, okay. For 18 years, you're about the highest you're going to be is like 92%, right? Is that basically 92, what it is?
93? Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I have a segue for this. But we're going to go right into right before this program started, the Milwaukee Bucks agreed to a 4-year, $107 million deal with Myles Turner. And that's cool, right? Yeah. But then the next tweet comes out that they are stretching and waiving Damian Lillard, who tore his Achilles tendon during the postseason. And I think we're going to get to all the other deals that we like and that we don't like and see in a minute. But like this one is like we're going to talk about in real time. And I have a lot of different emotions about this. One, this is the reality of the new apron NBA, right? Quick pivots. The Milwaukee Bucks have been trying to build a team around Giannis on the fly, and which was further complicated with Damian Lillard, which is one of the reasons why I think the NBA world thought that Giannis was going to leave at a point in time. Now, there's some preliminary reporting right now without much context that Giannis is unhappy with this move. That came from Chris Haynes, but we don't know why or like what that's going to lead to necessarily. But this seems like an upgrade in some respects, right? Because you have a guy like Myles Turner who you essentially swap for because Brook Lopez is gone. You got Bobby Portis to get some front court depth. But on the other hand, I think your lead guard next year, as of right now, because, free agency is a very fluid situation at the moment, but your lead guard right now is Kevin Porter Jr. With all the moving parts right now, what is your immediate reaction to the deal?
I was really excited for the Myles Turner pickup. I thought, I thought that was a really, really good get. Obviously you're losing Brook Lopez. I thought Myles Turner. Now this is like, I'm not digging into like how much money he got or anything like that. I'm just talking about the pairing and what that makes you, especially when you're in the Eastern Conference, when you're looking around. We've said it before, and you're looking at the landscape of it, and you got like Jason Tatum not available next year. The Halliburton and the Pacers, even if Myles Turner were still there, not going to be what they're supposed to be. So you have to be looking around when you have one of the best, if not the best player in the East, thinking how can we get to striking distance because it's within reach, right? So I think Myles Turner, the addition of another big that can stretch the floor and play alongside Giannis is a good move. Dame, I don't know how, he wasn't going to be available to them this year. Like I don't really know how to feel about that one, I guess, if I'm being honest. This isn't going to be great podcast, and I'm a Dame fan. It would be much nicer if they had Dame, but he wasn't going to be available to you next year anyway. And I don't know how many vehicles they had to get into that Myles Turner deal, like in terms of pieces that they could move. Does Indiana do a sign and trade with you? Like, I don't know how that works. So something was going to have to give. And now it becomes like, I don't know what their books look like and what they have left, but you do need a veteran, tie it all together kind of PG. you're going to need to try to add that, in the rest of free agency.
Well, they just signed Gary Harris. This is also fluid as well. They just signed Gary Harris to a 2-year deal. He's a good player, but like he's not going to replace Dame, which I guess with the roster construction you can't really replace Dame. So what's another thing it's a weird end to the Dame Lillard era in Milwaukee, right? Because he gets traded after all these years. Will he? Won't he? Out of Portland, finally gets traded to Milwaukee, has that monster contract, and it kind of ends with no titles. What you had the first round exit a year ago. I think the first round exit again this year. Like now he goes into the situation where like it's a weird ending to a career befitting of a future Hall of Famer, right? And now like we don't know what's going to happen. He has this really tough road back to recovery. Does he come back on a mid-level somewhere? Like, I just don't know what the future of Dame Lillard holds in the NBA, and it's a weird end to a chapter of his career as he's trying to get a championship. The league is tough now, and it's even more tough with this apron, right? Because you got to pivot and you got to make some really rash decisions at a given moment to help your team on a year-by-year basis, and that's what the NBA wanted with this hard cap, but it's really hitting teams like the Milwaukee Bucks who don't really have much assets. Luckily didn't give up any picks to make this move, but then you have to stretch a guy like Damian Lillard, and you're going to have $20 million on your books for the next 5 years to pay off that $113 million to Damian Lillard. It's a lot of moving parts, but this is the new modern NBA, Raja.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate that this chapter, if you will, kind of has ended like this for Dame. But if I could just play the other side of it and look for a silver lining in it. If you're able to rehab this, because Achilles rehabs come a long way, but you are at an advanced stage in your career. So if you're able to kind of navigate this and come back in a way that allows you to continue to be a viable piece in a winning situation, if you're a Dame fan and legacy wise for Dame, it could work out all right. Because you asked, like, what does he come back and play on? At that point, he can play on whatever he wants to play on. He can look for fit. He can look for who needs a piece that is like right at the precipice of getting over the hump, and he controls it. It's not who will trade for him or who wants to, it'll be, hey, if you have the space for me, I can decide what I'm willing to play for, and I'll come in there and hunt for this championship. So in a weird way, just silver lining to it might be if he comes back and he's healthy and he rehabs, he might be able to plug in and catch on with somebody where he can get that chip ultimately.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of soul searching for him. And it's weird because you obviously have to have that when you have a big sense of rehab on an Achilles like that. But he's going to have to figure out his mind to a specific role change. It's going to be vastly different than the one that he had when he tore his Achilles. So on one hand, he's going to have to rehab, but also he's going to have to figure out, how do I become, I don't know, is Dame coming off the bench when he comes back? Like, I just don't know what the NBA is looking like in the adjustment period. I mean, there was an adjustment, even him playing alongside Giannis in the role that had, right? It was also fit, but
very fair.
Also figuring out a new landscape when you're not the guy. So it's going to be not only a tough rehab process, but tough changing of the mind and how you play, how you see the game. So interesting. That's fluid. We'll see what Giannis thinks. I'm sure by the end of this pod, Cliff will show us something that Giannis said or maybe some innuendo. But let's get on to some other moves. One of the things that I've liked, Raj, and there was a survey that the entrance survey that the Ringer put out yesterday that I was a part of with Michael Pina, Howard motherfucking Beck, and a host of our Ringer NBA colleagues. And one of the questions was, who would challenge the Oklahoma City Thunder next season? And there was a lot of Rockets talk, which we'll get to in a second. One of the teams that I picked, and I forget a couple other people picked, was Denver Nuggets, right? And just for the simple fact that they have Jokic and that they were the only team that took this Thunder team to 7 games. And this NBA is all about matchups as opposed to talent now. But they swapped Michael Porter Jr. And an unprotected first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson. And they re-signed free agent Bruce Brown to a 1-year deal. I kind of like what the Nuggets are doing right now, right? They didn't give up Christian Brown, and they have Bruce Brown in the mix. They get a little bit more depth, and Michael Porter Jr. was great, but he was always up and down. Cam Johnson makes $18 million less, so they get their books in order, the Nuggets do, and they're still competing for a title. And I think they have a serviceable team so far around Jokic going into next season.
Yeah, they maneuvered well. I would agree with that. I in terms of getting better, I mean, Bruce Brown is going to help you with your depth, right? Like that's going to happen. But it's not always about that. To your point, it's we don't lose much, and we can trim a lot in the process. So from that regard, I'm fine. I would agree with you that they're going to be one of the teams. I don't know that they'd be my favorite to challenge OKC necessarily, but you are right. Anytime you have Jokic and the way that OKC struggled with guarding him in that series, they have to be considered, right? There's still work to be done there, I think. Like, I don't think that's what they're going to look like is finished, like from a coaching perspective, from a team perspective. But like, so the jury would be out, but I'm not mad at what they're doing at all.
That 32 first round pick is a tough pill to swallow, though. I will say that. I mean, I know the Nets are just stockpiling picks, but by that time, Jokic isn't going to be on the team unless he has a LeBron type surge in the next 7 years. But they're going to want to need that pick. So it's tough, but they're going all in on championships right now, and this is the window to do it, right? And you have one guy. That's a tough thing, but
it's always tough, and everybody wants to protect the pick. Like, if you can protect it and have them and maximize your window, I mean, we're living in pie in the sky, having my cake and eating it too world. It just doesn't always work out like that. And so, when you have Jokic, not unlike LeBron or any of these guys that are premier, players in this league, you have to be doing what you can within their window of time to try to chase these things. And if it means giving up one down the road, like maybe there's an avenue to recouping that in some way, shape, or form before that. You know what I mean? But we've got to take the swings necessary.
Does this keep the ship afloat? Are you thinking, what do the Nuggets have to do to stay in contention even more? What more do you want to see in this free agency from them? What do they need? Because I think they have the depth. I think if they get a couple more pieces just around the margins, I think they're pretty much fine.
The new NBA, it's depth and competitive depth is a real thing, right? Especially in that Western Conference, wing defensive pieces, 3-and-D, if you will, guys that can knock down a jump shot but really get up and guard, and then competitive depth. Not just, hey, we can throw this guy out there, but real pieces coming off your bench that can play. So if you can find and pick those up. And, I don't know how many, I don't know what their situation is financially right now. So I don't know how much money they have to spend, so on and so forth. But that would be all that I think that they're missing for an opportunity with a piece like Jokic and what they already have in place to be viable. And then it's just about, coach putting him in the position. Like if that's going to work, if we're going to be kind of this, we still have our mojo offensively the way they've had in the past between, some of their pieces. If that still exists, I think you're fine.
What do you get when you swap a Cam Johnson for a Michael Porter Jr.?
I like Michael Porter, but he was basically just a spot shooter in that. He's just catch and shoot, right? Run. I mean, he's got wing defensive ability and he's long, and I guess I might undersell that a little bit. The bottom line is when you're on a roster, it doesn't matter what you do offensively or don't do offensively, or what your ceiling is offensively. When you play with Jokic, Jamal Murray, Gordon, when you're in that mix, you're there to do a job, right? And that job,
I like it for the consistency, bro. I do like it for the sense that Michael Porter Jr. could be great. He could be like, oh, yo, is this the next is this Costco KD? Or sometimes it's he disappears, right? And I think you need a steadier force around this Jokic team. When you do have the lack of depth, you do need guys that you can count on. And I think Cam Johnson is a steadier guy that you can count on. Maybe he's not averaging 25 a game, and he doesn't have those highs, but he's not disappearing.
Oh, I'll take your word on it. I mean, listen, some of this, again, I mean, we come on here and we talk basketball, but if I'm going to sit here and tell you I watched all of Cam Johnson's games this year and know his entire body of work for Brooklyn, I'd be lying to you. I'm not in a habit of doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, if I have to take your word for that.
I understand. All right, man, let's talk about another team that I have enjoyed what they've done this offseason, the Atlanta Hawks, who have traded for Kristaps Porzingis and also got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think that they have a chance to be the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, which is a weird turn of events considering what we've said about the fit under Trae Young and just being Trae Young, and have they hit a ceiling with Trae Young? And the Atlanta Hawks are like, nah, we're going to stick with him and we're going to put pieces around him finally. So, like, I like it for them, even if it's for a 1-year deal and see what we got. But this seems like a good offseason for the Atlanta Hawks right now with the cap space that they have used and who the players that they have used it on. So I think I got to give them an A. They did a good job.
Yeah, I like what the Hawks did. I mean, it started with Kristaps for sure. I like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like, again, you're talking about guy who can make a shot and looked like he had more than make a shot capability in the playoffs, but also will sit down and lock up. You already have some formidable pieces defensively there with Dyson Daniels. Like, that gives you some elite backcourt / wing defensive prowess. You know what? They got Luke Kennard. I saw him pick up who shoots the ball. You could space the floor. 39 or 40% career 3-point shooter. Again, and this is what I said when the Kristaps thing happened for them. So I would agree with you when I said when Kristaps happened. I'm like, look, you're looking at yourself in the Eastern Conference now with the new landscape of it, with everything that's in flux. And if you're within striking distance, you've got to see how close you can get. Like, you know, when you have, and Trae would fall into that category for me. And I know I've been at times, you know, curious / skeptical of like what the smaller guard with that style of play can represent, you know, on a championship winning team. I'm not saying it can't, but you got to get the recipe right around it. But he would fall into the level of player that if I had him on my team with all of the things that he can do, and I had a little nucleus around him, I'm sitting in that Eastern Conference, I'm like, yo, let's take a couple swings at that. Not to mention the pick that they fleeced out of like the pick next year, right? Like that they got in around the draft. What that could potentially be. I like what they've done this offseason.
New Orleans is another case altogether.
Yeah,
Traded away picks like that. We don't got to rehash that. But damn, I wanted to make it positive, but what the hell are the New Orleans Pelicans doing right now? They have no plan whatsoever. They're just giving bags out. They're willing and dealing, and the way that they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just, here, I'll take this piece. I think this works. Maybe I think there are concepts of a plan that are
they're like the homie. You know him, so it's not a stranger. He pulls up to your crib. And he's like, yo, dog, hop in. We're going to X, Y, and Z. And you look in the back and ain't no bags packed. You're like, nah, dog, I'm good. I'm not going with you, bro. I'm good. There's no plan here. There's no plan. There's no plan. No.
Why are we in Shreveport right now? You said we were going to Atlanta. Why are we going? What the hell?
Okay. No, not getting in, dog. I'm going back to the couch.
Doe, let me out. Oh my God. That also got me thinking about the Kings too, who are just fucking. They have interest in Russell Westbrook right now.
They seem to be headed in the right direction, is what I will say to that.
No, they won't, because they're talking also about trading Zach LaVine.
Oh. What do you like to say? The Kang's gonna Kang? Is that your thing?
The Kangs are gonna Kang. They're talking about also moving Malik Monk. Remember, like the Beam era, it was so much fun, right? When even after they traded Tyrese Halliburton, then they had the Beam team. They had Sabonis, they had guys, they had excitement. They had Malik Monk making everybody excited in the building. They had the clutch player of the year, De'Aaron Fox. They had Sabonis. They traded that.
State.
Steph didn't do it. Wasn't Steph that ruined him. It was Vivek Ranadive that ruined him. And now all of a sudden they don't have the coach of the year anymore. Doug Christie is the coach. There's one of the other things though that I want to talk to you about. Let's talk LeBron, man, and talk about the Lakers as a whole, staff, record label, and motherfucking crew, because the Houston Rockets got Dorian Finney-Smith on a nice deal, and which really helps out the Rockets, and I think they're going to be a really formidable team. They're probably a top three team right now in the Western Conference, if I had to guess. But on the other side of that is the Los Angeles Lakers, who, even with new ownership, still have to have the same old drama-filled discussions. On the eve of free agency, LeBron James he picks up his option, which seems great in theory, and then Rich Paul tells everyone in sight that LeBron isn't happy with the direction of the franchise. And I'm just gonna, not necessarily not happy, but he's not happy with the prospect, if you read between the tea leaves, that shit isn't running through him and they're not building around him anymore, right? So Rich Paul tells The Athletic and ESPN, LeBron knows the Lakers are building for the future, and he also wants to compete for championships. We understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage of his life and career. He wants to make every season he has left count. The Lakers understand that. They're supportive of that and what's best for him. We're very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie and Rob, and consider the Lakers a critical part of his career. Now, this is one of those statements where they say everything, and you got to read what they're actually saying, which is, we want to win a title right now. We want to do it. Obviously, that is the Lakers' goal. Obviously, that's what they want to do, right? But it's not going through LeBron anymore. And I feel like him and his team are kind of flailing right now to find some sort of leverage elsewhere, because they want to say, yeah, we'll leave to go chase a championship. And the Lakers are like, cool, bet. We want to win a championship. Yeah, so do we. Well, we want to, figure things out. Yeah, so do we. But we're going to do it around this other dude right now. When you look at what the Lakers situation is right now, where it feels like this manufactured controversy happens when LeBron, but it doesn't hit the same. When you see that, is it hilarious to you? Is it informative? How do you feel when you see these LeBron leaks that don't hit the same?
I think the word I'd use to describe it would be inevitable. I think it was always coming to this when a player like LeBron, who has been the driving force, on any team he's ever been on, and been the reason why, teams are held to the fire in some regards in terms of keeping a championship viable level team built around him because of the way he moves in free agency and contractually. Like, he's just used to that. And when you go out and get Luka, you've clearly, started the plan of the baton pass, like not in the AD way where you're wondering whether AD will ever take it and be that level player, but in the way like, no, dude, he's here now. We got him. There's no question. And so we're going to manage the two of you together and try to operate this window. But in the not so distant future, this is going to be built around Luka. And so this was always coming, right? Because that's a very, very difficult thing to do unless that roster is already in place. It's a very difficult thing to do. And the roster it's not in place right now. How many vehicles they have to go out and complement these two in the way they need to be complemented, I don't know. But I know that the Lakers' priorities are going to have to be, Luka whenever that's up, and then protecting the flexibility that they have to make sure that window is securely open around him.
It's also funny to see this leak or these comments that are vague in words, but also very direct in spirit from the LeBron James camp, because Luka has an extension. I believe it's coming up August 2nd that he needs to decide on, and the Lakers are doing everything in their power to be like, yo, man, we will give you everything that you want, and we will do whatever you need from us. It's all good, Luka. Don't even trip. It's good. And
so he's up this summer. I mean, he can opt.
He can sign a new extension. Yeah. And it could be a short term one, just so he can get the recoup all the money that Nico Harrison took from him when he traded him. Nico Harrison always getting strays. But it's a new world order, and you're the only one, bro. You're
Nico.
A great
just
friend.
Go listen to the files, bro. I abstain from all of that. I don't get into that, bro. I don't get into that, Nico.
The Lakers and LeBron both have reputations to uphold in this situation, right? LeBron really doesn't want to leave Los Angeles, and he's not going to leave Los Angeles, but he wants to feel good about, just do right by me, I guess, in a certain way. And the Lakers are saying, well, doing right by you was much different a year ago than it is right now. And they're saying, yeah, just chill out for a second. We'll take care of you, because on their end, they are a franchise that purports itself on taking care of stars. And they're in a bit of a transitional period, but they still have to do that while, in a perfect world, It'll be like, yo, LeBron, can you take this 20 mil real quick, and so we can round out this roster? But he's not going to take any less than the max. What were you going to say?
Yeah, but in fairness, they were a franchise that prided themselves on taking care of stars. We don't really know how new ownership, right? Like you don't know what their
or with the new apron era, if you can actually do that, right? Like you're seeing that with Dame in Milwaukee, right? And so it's going to be a tough balance for them to do so. LeBron he's using old tactics for a new environment, and that tends to happen when you're, older in the league. So
it's interesting, right? Because I talk about older players and them having to kind of reinvent themselves as players to kind of gracefully approach the end of their career in a way where they can still be competitive and part of a winning culture and all of that, because it's rare that like the number one guy at 41 is the number one guy on a championship team. That doesn't happen, right? So you got to kind of reinvent yourself as a player so that you can fit around pieces. And I think LeBron actually did an admirable job of kind of letting that happen with Luka this year, right? Like kind of, hey, dude, this is going to be yours. I'll figure out how to play around that. It's going to require him to do that off the floor in terms of trying to move the chess pieces on the board within the organization to an area that is more desirable for him. Like when you have to cede some of that too. So it's not just like the physical, it's both of those things. You have to be willing to take a step back and kind of reinvent the way you play and reinvent the way you move and expect an organization to move around you.
Yeah, which is like a hard thing to do when you're the greatest player of all time.
Oh,
and everything has been catered to you, right? Like it's like asking Michael Jordan to like take a pay cut towards the back, even though he kind of did with the Wizards. But you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like at the end of his Bulls run where he's playing great basketball, maybe not good enough basketball to help you win a championship as the number one guy, but you're telling LeBron James to take a role shift, which is, we said this around at the trade, that's just going to be a hard thing to ask him because he still thinks, oh, I'm LeBron James. I can still do this. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's almost like be careful what you wish for, right? If you're LeBron, in an effort to chase that championship and get the type of player that you think you needed, a la Luka, to help you do that, you've lost the marquee, and so you've lost the ability to do the things. And so now you are in that situation that you're describing, Logan, which is if I got to pick, while every other time, 99.9% of the time, it's always been when there's a choice, we're choosing LeBron. No brainer.
Yeah.
Well, and in your effort to get over the hump for the championship, you lost that.
And also he's doing it in an environment where like Rob Pelinka, who I guess reportedly is now, the Lakers are only taking 2-year contracts because they're still trying to get their book straight. And they want to have max salary slots for 2027. And I don't know necessarily like if that's going to, in the new NBA era, if that approach is going to work. You're talking about ancient approaches to a modern time. I don't know how that's going to work in 2 years, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get their books back together. And they're not being as aggressive in the free agency market. But that's also coming at a time with new ownership, which means by definition, like everybody's auditioning right now, including Rob Pelinka, where there's so many different moving parts in this organization, and LeBron is just like the cherry on top of that. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks for that, because I think Luka's 26 years old. He wants to have a contending title, and I see this even. And we could talk about my backyard in a second, but like you're seeing a team that is saying they want to win a championship, and then you see all these other moving parts. You see Myles Turner's going here, right? Brooke Lopez is going to the Clippers when you need a front court guy, and your fan base is like, well, what the hell are we doing right now? Like, how are we not aggressive in this aggressive free agency market to get our players? So there's so many moving parts within the Lakers orbit right now that it's always interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the brand itself is interesting, and I should say the jury's out on whether or not LeBron can still do it, because who knows? Maybe at the end of the day, he's still able to pull off the LeBron kind of magic in terms of getting an organization to do what he wants, or to do what he thinks they need. But it is going to be fascinating, and with new ownership, to your point, comes a lot of uncertainty, right? Like philosophically, how are they going to approach a lot of things? So we'll just have to wait and see. I did hear that Somebody said it, so this isn't my own thought, but I heard that they were in the DeAndre Ayton race with Milwaukee. So they might, that might fill the need for the center. Like things might, just because they didn't happen on night one or the first 12 hours doesn't mean they're not percolating and they're not about to happen, right? But we'll just have to wait and see.
DeAndre Ayton, we don't talk much Portland on this podcast for obvious reasons, but DeAndre Ayton getting the buyout and entering the free agency market, if I'm a championship team, I don't know if he's gonna be. Hopefully, he changed his mindset since the last time he was on a team competing for titles. But that's a scary proposition. But the price should be fine. But he just seems like a guy that doesn't necessarily uplift a court and a roster for it and championship aspiration. But we'll see. We'll see.
No, but I don't know that I can disagree with that. But I guess who would in the center market? That was affordable for the Lakers. I don't know.
Yeah. The Warriors are probably going to keep Kuminga. Good move or bad move?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
I think it's more because it's not a it seems like it's another marriage of convenience, right? I don't think the market is as sweet as Kuminga thought he was going to be, right? And
that could be the reason for it. But he is a talented player, and he's got unique athleticism and size. This is all desirable stuff. So just because his mind's not right and we kind of went in on him a pod ago for that, doesn't mean we can't get him to see the light and have him, mature and turn into what we hope he can be, right? So if the market's not right for the move, I'm okay with that. I'd like to think that, I was a young guy that thought I knew a lot. And then every day I realized I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So if he can learn and mature and get better and learn how to play in that system and use it for what it should be for him in terms of experience and tutelage, he's very tantalizing as a talent. I don't know that his upside is what he thinks his upside is as a player, but he's tantalizing nonetheless.
I think that I could see them doing maybe like a 2 or 3 year deal, but he's going to sign a very tradable contract is what I think is going to happen. And if it doesn't work out in the beginning of the season, I think they'll look to trade him again. But this should be a humbling for him. So in a best case scenario, it's a humbling for him. And he goes out there and says, I'm going to play my role to the best of my ability, and maybe makes an all-star in that way. But we'll see. We'll see. But I think he's going to be back. All signs point to him being back. I don't know how much more free agency stuff we got for you guys right now. So we're going to go to Mr. Cliff Augustine, who have you figured out a name for the new Philly WNBA team yet?
The Philly Bells is one that's going around right now.
That's fire.
The Baddies on Broad is another name that people put out there. You know what I'm saying? The Broad Street Baddies, something like that.
That's not happening.
Philly
that
Bells,
part's not.
Isn't that New Jersey? Isn't that that's like an AAU team? Isn't that like the?
You know what? It might be an AAU team actually, Raj. I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think so. Like a women's EYBL. I think Philly Bells exist. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do think you're right actually, Raj. Now I'm thinking about it. I think
Raj is locked in.
My homegirl might have played on that team back in.
Yeah. I think my niece played on that team. I went to watch them play in Dallas. They were hooping.
Yeah.
What's the legality of taking an AAU team's name? I don't know.
Probably got to give him a little check. You know what I'm saying?
That's scandalous, though. Or it's a great branding opportunity, right? Get the W team and then, merge them into your AAU teams, the pipeline. I don't know how illegal that is, but, hey, let's do it.
Definitely right about that. Are you ready to get this first one going?
Let's get it popping.
This is from Noah. This is actually, speaking of Kuminga. Noah went in on Kuminga here, so just brace yourselves here. Why does Lacob like a player who can't shoot, never ever passes, doesn't fit in the motion offense, lowest IQ player I've ever seen, below average defender, ball watcher on rebounds, self-absorbed? Why the hell is Kuminga valued so much with this organization? That is from Noah.
Was that Raj's burner?
Well,
I've written about this. Lacob wants stars, and he sees Kuminga as a star, and he's very scared of a prospect of not having stars post Steph Curry. So anybody that he sees that can fill up seats, I don't know if Kuminga is necessarily someone that's going to fill up seats, but he is going to push for guys like that. And also there's another wrinkle to this, which is ever since I believe the 2020 draft, Lacob has had a firmer grip on the front office. And, it started with the Wiseman pick. It's turned into him having say on a lot of the personnel moves in a way that he just didn't during the early part of his tenure with Golden State. And now that he has Bob Myers isn't in the building to kind of massage that and kind of like convince him, no, hey, this isn't what we should do. You have a different front office dynamic, right? And that's not to say that Mike Dunleavy hasn't, done good things, but Lacob's imprint is on a lot of these types of moves. And you saw it like when after the season, when it was kind of clear Kuminga and the coaching staff was at odds, there was a bit of a Lacob power move at the Valkyries game where he puts Kuminga front row with him as like and they're watching the game together and they looked at him on the Jumbotron, and it was a very much of a sense of like, oh, okay, we see who's making the decisions here, and we see how much Lacob is going to put his influence on there. And there are all those red flags that Noah put out there, but it's more of a vanity play than anything. Lacob wants a star, and he thinks that a star can be one. He's always felt that way, and he doesn't want to be wrong with his picks. So he's going to pay all that money to try to convince people he isn't wrong.
There you go.
Sounds like a bold strategy.
Let me just double. I would just double down on what I said a few minutes ago about talent and what the combination of that and measurables and athleticism can do to anyone. I'm not saying it's the Golden State's front office. It might be Lacob, but like when you see things that don't look all the way like other things. I mean, we can agree. When you roll up, Logan, you've seen him in person more than me. That's an impressive build, right? Like
Absolutely.
That's an impressive.
And he does things like
Yeah.
like he can fucking put his chin on the rim,
Yeah.
Like that's really
No.
cool to see. He can dunk on people.
Right. And that's why I said, like, that's why even me, when I'm watching them play and I see the athleticism or lack thereof overall on that roster, and then you put him in and he's able to like just get to the rim whenever he wants, like that's intoxicating sometimes. It's hard to give up on that, quite frankly, sometimes. And it's not just a Golden State issue. It's not just an NBA issue. This is life.
Yeah. One thing that like is under the Golden State era that I just am annoyed about when I see them is like in an era where you have to pivot like quickly and you see all this action happening. They're so slow to the punch, right? Like, I mean, not to say I thought the Jimmy Butler trade was, they didn't really give up much for him. They just put 2 extra years on his contract. But there isn't any wheeling and dealing going on. It's a lot of patience. And I like Myles Turner was out there, was to be had, right? Like at a point in time, Pascal Siakam was there to be had, right? And he was a very effective piece for a finals team. But they're like sitting on their thumbs, not getting guys. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they won't part with Kuminga. And it's just like, dude, come on. Like I get it with talent. And I know he had career highs, and there are times like, Tuesday in January, and even at this point, Tuesday in April, where you're like, damn, this dude is something. But on the Tuesday in April, even though he balled out, they still lost that game, right? That's what is not adding up right now.
The math isn't math, is what you're saying, Logan. The math isn't math.
You know what I mean? It's not mathing right now.
The math isn't
especially in that
mathing.
role.
All right, this is from Reza Tahiri. How will the next generation talk about us? Every 15 years, the kids have to tear down the retired superstars old people won't stop talking about. What will be the hottest take of 2040? For example, LeBron and KD were hired guns who jumped to better teams to stay competitive. From 2015 to 2025, the Warriors were the only quality championship team because everyone else beat injured teams. Kobe put a Mamba hex on the Kings, and that's why it's 2040 and they still haven't won a playoff series. I hope Howard Beck enjoys this one. Reza from Sacramento.
Shout out to Sac though. What's one? Let's get creative here. Oh, the LaMelo Ball takes are going to be nuts in 2040.
Yeah.
They're going to be crazy. Where they're going to just be like, yo, man, if he was just on a champion, the whole league was stupid because they didn't see him and put him in the right situation. He was there to be had, and we didn't just give him the right opportunity. or something like that. Or like he should have been an MVP. He was an MVP, but y'all third eye wasn't open.
Bro,
I feel like LaMelo Ball is going to.
You know what the hottest takes are going to be? Yo,
What's
Paul
that?
George really was the GOAT, but he just always was just hurt. You know how the young bulls love Paul George, yo?
They do.
They
do.
love
I don't know
Paul
what that says about Gen Z, but like they loved him some Paul George,
They
bro.
loved him some Raj. These kids idolize Paul George. Every TikTok, every video you see, yo, Paul
Really?
George. Logan, am I lying?
You're not lying, bro. You're not. They loved him some Paul George.
No disrespect to Paul George. I guess I haven't seen that. I am not tapped in like that.
Also, like facts are just not going to matter. So because of that, we're going to be in a space where we're going to, like, as old heads, we're going to be like, are you fucking serious? Raja, what was the take that pisses you off from the last generation that we have said? I'm sure it took you a long time to get around to the fact that LeBron was like the greatest player of all time, or like at least over Jordan.
I don't love that, but I mean, I've experienced LeBron and I lived through that, so I can have that conversation with you.
I know the plumbers conversation got you pissed off. I know, like people just like
plumber. When they're saying old
the
school dudes
Jordan
are
one.
plumbers. You know, touching Jordan in any way, shape, or form. Like some of the times when we get to the Kobe better than Jordan and stuff like that bothers me a little bit. No disrespect to Kobe, but yeah, I don't know. I generally, I don't get into that shit, bro. I don't be bothered with that.
The one,
Cliff.
the one that irks people so the James Harden
that?
versus D Wade one. That James Harden.
Oh, stop!
I'm just
Stop.
saying, that irks people.
That's not
so,
even-
the James.
But
Yeah.
but that's not even a okay. Did they say that James Harden is better than Dwayne Wade?
Bro, Jeff Teague and them was on the pod like screaming and crying that James Harden was better than D Wade.
What did James Harden do after May in his career?
Fam, don't look. I've seen it firsthand. I will never.
Dwayne Wade got
Well,
three of them things.
So this is interesting to me, though. This is
Okay,
interesting to me because
Let's get the back.
but it's because it's not. I'm not going to weigh in on who's better or not. Like I don't love doing that. But I think this is where Howard and I come to a disconnect sometimes when we talk about players, right? And this often happens when you're talking to ex players. They're talking to you about from a hooper's eye, skill level, what they can do. Who's a better player? And a lot of times fan and media are coming at it from like who won championships. And hoopers, that's why Michael Beasley will stand there and straight up tell you, like, I am better than X, Y, and Z, even though his career didn't pan out. Because a lot of times hoopers are coming up it purely from a hoop standpoint. Like, if I had to guard him or him, who would I pick? Like, or
I can see
if
that.
I
No,
needed a bucket.
if you're guarding James Harden like on it as a one-on-one player, he's one of the greatest to ever do it, right? Like especially drawing fouls, even though Dwayne Wade drew his share of fouls. I guess I could see it, but yeah.
And I'm not
it's
even
also,
weighing in on it. I'm just saying that's the interesting part to me because like the debate is often a disconnected debate because you're almost debating two different things, right? Like the ex Hooper is talking about purely skill level and appreciation
and who we
for
had to
the
guard.
Craft. Yeah, and there's the craft itself where like you can act in a bad movie and be a phenomenal actor. The movie might be bad, but your performance could have been outrageously good.
Denzel has done that a couple times and made a lot of bad movies solid.
And another actor might say, like, you might just walk away as a general fan and be like, shit movie. And another actor might appreciate that performance in a way like, dude, that was it. And so I think you run into that sometimes when former pros are talking about like who their favorite is versus, us on this side sometimes or like just, media or fans, so on and so forth.
Cliff, you know who else I think is going to be history is going to like love on maybe a little bit too much? Kyrie.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they are going to like, and I love Kyrie's game. I think
he's amazing.
He's amazing. And watching him play on a nightly basis has been great.
Amazing.
But I think that they are going to inflate like his value to what a team like, or what he should have been. Like he was injured all them years. He didn't really do great in Brooklyn, but like the bag, right? His highlight tape is nuts.
Rise, we're talking about the bag, right?
Bag.
They're going to talk about the bag.
I'm hypocritical on this one because you know how the bag irks me. You know how that gets me like.
They're going to call him better than Steph. They're already doing it right now.
Yeah. So again, this is the interesting part of this conversation. What are we talking about being better at? Are we talking about being a better overall winner in the NBA? Well, not even a comparison. Are we talking about a more skilled better. Like when a basketball player talks about who's a better basketball player, they're talking about skill level.
Yeah.
They're talking about drop us on a court, who's got better skills. They're rarely talking about like
it's about who they have to guard.
Yeah. So like if you make me say who's better between those two, we can have a real conversation about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you ask me who was the better pro and who had the better career, not even a question. Like if you ask me whose skill set was better for a team to win a championship, I don't think not a question either. But like if you said to somebody who's just a better player skill-wise, I'm not weighing in again, but we can have the conversation.
You're going to have a lot of guys that didn't win shit talking about, but you listen, you know, hey.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of rewriting of history in 2040. That's a great question.
100%. We see it now, man. These discussions carry basketball now. They don't even talk about the game no more. Right? They don't talk about the game no more. They talk about if Kobe was better than T-Mac. Like, I want to hear that.
Raja.
You ain't never lied, though, because I'm in the car with Zen, and Zen's probably the one that's in it the most now, who likes to ask me, yo, Dad, who is better, X or Z? And I'm like, oh, my God, Zen, I love you, bro, but I fucking hate this conversation. Bro. I really hate it.
I see some young bulls.
So you're right.
Bro, I see some young bulls on TikTok talking about, Magic Johnson would just be Ben Simmons today. I'm just like, all right, man. Like, we've lost the plot. We've gotten carried away. We've lost the plot.
Me and Cliff will text at like fucking 1 a.m. Like, do you see this shit? Are you serious right now? We will send each other.
And mind you, it's from the shows of respectable former Hoopers too. So we not going to pass judgment on nobody, but a lot of times they just get in their way and get in their feelings, and
the egos are there. It's nuts, bro. Oh my God. I appreciate you, Raja, because you are a former player, but you don't be letting your ego get in the way to make you say some bullshit. Because there's a lot of former players that let their ego get in the way and they say some wild shit.
Well, I mean, there's a point with us all where the ego takes over, right? Like I'd like to think that I push my point further and further back as I've gotten older. Less testosterone, maybe. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. We all have buttons. Like you find the right button to hit with somebody. Like I've been hot on here before. I'm not
before last episode. The fuck?
just say Russell Westbrook and you're gonna be right back.
That'll be right back. There you go.
Bro. Speaking of which, Russell Westbrook is going to be in 2040 is going to be.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Russ.
Shit.
Yo, it's the Russ. The Russ versus Shea discussion. That's going to be crazy, right?
God. Oh my God.
I think Russ loses. Russ loses a little bit every year.
That Shea's on there?
Every year. Yeah, because it's just so much, and there's just so much shit talked about Russ now. Yeah. Like I've covered this at nauseum, but like he gets slandered so much that next generation is not going to have any appreciation for Russ in my mind. They'll just think he was a.
He might get erased. You think?
I think that the narrative on Russ, and maybe this is why I'm so protective and I get so angry, is eventually that he was a bum. That it was all.
Oh yeah. That's coming. That is for sure coming. Don't worry, that is coming. All right, you want to get to this last one?
Let's do it.
This is from Will Cheney. LeBron trade. I'm a Lakers fan. Wouldn't mind trading LeBron for pieces to surround Luka? Be the best of both worlds. The team that gets LeBron gets to sell tickets, jerseys, and have the retirement tour. Lakers get some needed pieces and can compete. I think he goes to the Cavs or the Knicks. What do y'all think?
I don't think there's a market for LeBron.
Not at the salary that he wants to command, bro. Like it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
I put in an entrance survey. Like, just put him with fucking Jokic, and like let's just see them ball out just 1 year, you know. But that's the problem with LeBron. He don't really got a home like that. I mean, I guess he has one with the Lakers, but he hasn't embraced that home, and I think that's been it's been a gift and a curse for him. He need to just take the bag with LA and just take the retirement tour with the Lakers, bro. Like, if you went back to Cleveland, I don't think Cleveland necessarily wants him in that way, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense. They're trying to compete for titles right now, and I don't think LeBron in a farewell tour is going to be good for that. And the Knicks are in the same boat, right? But also, he doesn't have any attachment to the Knicks. Imagine he went to Madison Square Garden, and at this stage, and all them people who that fan base that he dubbed twice, right? You saw how fucking sad Ben was when he was on the pod when we asked him about LeBron James. imagine he comes back and he's like, yo, man, New York, you New York the boroughs. And they're like, bro, you fucking dubbed us twice. Like, and now we're trying to go compete. And like, you want to take all the oxygen for your ass? Like, no, you're not even a Knick. Kick rocks. Just stay in LA.
LeBron for OG and Anunoby. Who says no?
The streets.
Yo, and a reunion. Yo, and a
Dykeman.
possible reunion with Mike Brown too. Come on, man. It's all written there. It's all written there.
Do you remember how it ended with him and Mike Brown, right?
I do. Mike Brown got bounced up out of there.
He got freed. Oh, man. LeBron, just let a fan base love you for once. Like, let it happen, dog.
What you mean?
The Lakers,
Cleveland, this is for you. What you mean?
Right. Yeah, that wasn't manufactured at all. What happened before that? Did they love him?
All right. They burned his jersey, but he went out sorry for them though.
All right.
I mean, bro.
Then he left him again.
Imagine you playing in your hometown and you go on national TV and say, "Yo, I'm out. I'm cool off y'all. I don't want to ever be around y'all."
I get it. Well, I'm talking about with the result of that. It's a complicated relationship.
Fam,
he has a series of complicated relationships.
He brought a chip back to Cleveland. He good in their book. That's it.
Yeah, but they still don't. They're like, yo, LeBron, can you take a pay cut, bro? If he wants to go back. He's not going to make as much money nowhere else but Los Angeles. Like, he just needs to chill, go build that big-ass house.
Yeah. This falls into the category of just, look, it rarely ends the way you want it to end. You know what I mean? Like, very few people get to script the way it ends. And most people are slightly disappointed with the way it ends.
But I don't know if he even knows how he wants it to end. He's just playing now at this point. Like, I don't know. Like,
no, I mean,
he's at the stage where he has everything.
But he wants it to end with a championship. Like, he wants it to end with the Lakers just moving heaven and earth to get him everything he thinks that he needs, whether it winds up in a championship or not. That's the way he wants that to end. And it's just not going to probably end like that.
But it ain't your team no more, bro. You should have retired maybe after the 2020 season, but he can't do that because it wasn't outside and he didn't get to have his celebration, right? But I mean, it's tough shit for LeBron, man. I mean, he just doesn't want to be loved and he's for the streets. And that's just kind of what it is.
Man.
He is.
Man. LeBron. Nah, dog, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that. LeBron. Nah, I ain't gonna do that. I'm not doing that. Like,
it's his fault.
If you want to co-sign that shit, you can co-sign it. But like, I'm not co-signing that.
It's true.
Nah, but listen, I am not.
And it's not nobody's fault but his. If he wanted the love that he so desperately desires, and he wanted all these things, and he wanted a franchise to like move heaven and earth for him, he should have stayed where, or at least a couple of teams, he should have stayed longer than he did and just went through shit. But he was like, nah. And that, to his credit, that's fine. Miami, you guys are getting old. I need to bounce to go to this young team and, get this narrative story right? This storybook ending right. Okay, bet. It's gone everywhere it's supposed to go in Cleveland for the second time. I'm going to go to the Lakers, right? And then he didn't fully embrace it. But Monty Jones said something really good on his podcast the other day where it was like, when he went to the Lakers, he should have just went full Mr. Laker. I am taking the baton after Kobe, and I am going to be the standard bearer of what a Laker should be. And then I will recruit for them. I will have a home here. But no, he didn't do that. He was in the business of LeBron. And every year it was, I'm going to use the leverage points that have worked in every other state or every other team that I've been on, and it's going to work out. Yeah, but now we see the end of that right now. Now the Lakers are like, we're still the Lakers and we're getting Luka.
Multiple things, right? Number one, I don't think that makes you for the streets because he navigated his career the way that he did. Franchises do that all the time. It's their modus operandi, right? Like, they use you until they don't think they can use you to win anymore, and then they keep it moving. So a player having the structure of a CBA and the ability to maneuver in that CBA in that way to allow himself to stay viable for championships, I've got no beef with that. Also, if you operating within an organization the way you have for your entire career has resulted in chasing championships in every destination you've been, why would you think that it wouldn't be the same way in LA. So I don't begrudge anybody doing that. Like that there's a track record there. We got proof of concept with that. All I'm saying is, like, at the end of it, like, it's just not going to end. Like it's now not going to end. And I don't think he's looking for, like, wanting to be loved by, like, anybody. All what he wants is what he always gets. Take this roster and move whatever you need to move to put the best potential team around me to try to win this championship in whatever this little window is. And they're just not going to be able to do that at this point. And if that's the love you're talking about, then that is what he's looking for. But I don't think he's looking for any kind of, like, I don't think he needs a farewell tour. I don't think he needs to be loved by 9 fan bases necessarily. Like, I think, he just, what he wants at the end for this to be a successful end to the career for him is for them to move the pieces and expend all of the capital in a 1 year, 1.5, 2 year window. And they're just not going to do that.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. And I will push back on the thing that I do think that he does want the physical farewell tour. I do think he wants that. I absolutely do. Right. And I think, like, especially if he could do it in a Laker uniform and get celebrated, even though it's probably not going to hit the same as other farewell tours. But I think he's going to be.
I'll give you that.
You know what I mean? Like, but I do think that. Anyway, I don't know how the hell we got an hour of a podcast. Congratulations to everyone involved. Good job, Cliff. Good job, Victoria. Good job, Raja. We will see you guys next week. That's been another edition of Real Ones. We will see y'all next week. Let me look at the notifications and see if there was a big trade that has happened. I don't believe so. So we are going to see y'all next week. All the shits. Bye.